You see, Pokemon games are like crack. Some of us play to reach the same high we got from the first game. Some of us play just hoping we feel something. And while some of us play because it's the only thing that's bringing us joy right now. Damn, that got dark pretty quick. Pokemon Yellow was that game that started it for me, and I've been coming back ever since. Well, kinda. I sobered up and successfully avoided buying the 3DS, so I didn't play any of the games on there, which I think it's Pokemon Sun and Moon and Pokemon X and Y. I have this joke internally that I've only been buying the latest Nintendo console just to play the latest Pokemon. But then I just stopped. The Pokemon were getting more and more obscure and I didn't think I had it in me to play. I felt like they just kept coming out and I was feeling out of touch. Then when Sword and Shield were announced, I remembered that there was this void that I haven't filled in a very long time. And let's just say, I didn't have a Switch before this game came out. I'm sure others can relate when I say there's always an element of nostalgia with each new Pokemon game purchase. Nintendo knows this too. They expectedly release a new Pokemon game with each new console, and it always blows up sales figures. In fact, Sword and Shield is already the fastest selling game on the Switch and it's only been out for a few weeks. So I've been playing this game for the past week like it's my job, and I love it. At the time of this review, I've sunk about 25 hours and I think I've played enough to give my overall thoughts on it. I think this might be the quickest I've gone through a Pokemon game, and I ain't even mad. This game has seen a number of improvements that streamline the entire experience. I'd probably beat it in less time if I hadn't spent so much time exploring the wild area and catching everything I was allowed to catch. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the game itself. So it's a Pokemon game, right? There's an expectation there, and this game meets most of those in the right way and omits some of them in ways that I didn't quite expect. We're introduced to the Galar region, which houses the new 8th gen Pokemon, which are some of the best designs that I've seen thus far. It also includes some re-envisioned old gen Pokemon specifically made for the Galar region. If I could sum up this area in one word, it'd be diverse. The game overall still has some very familiar aspects even after all of these years. For instance, you're still a teenager that's managed to convince their mom that they want to travel the world and make more money than she does by battling monsters at the highest level possible. Her response? Sure dear, here's some money to get you started. To be fair, this is just a nitpick, but why am I still 14? I've been 14 for the last 20 years. They've always find some new little kid that wants to go on a journey and must meet with a professor named after some type of a tree, and always pick from one of 3 starters that are either always fire, water, or grass. I'm just saying, this person has proven that they could live on their own. Maybe they should add a part after I beat the Pokemon League where I search for apartments on Zillow. Clearly, Pokemon has a formula, and that's the crack that it mixes with the other elements in hopes to hook you in. Let's start with the beginning. I can change my skin color. Awesome, finally! Honestly, I was never expecting Game Freak to acknowledge that I wasn't white, but it's still kinda lit that I can pick something that reflects my skin tone. In prior games, I was basically a white guy that identifies as black. Unfortunately, that is the extent of personalization for your body. This world doesn't have a plastic surgeon that can change my nose shape or at least add bigger biceps. Well, at least I can change my hair with my pick of one of 8 hairstyles and one of 13 colors, which is fine because it allowed me to easily be a reincarnation of Cisco. The makeup service for guys allows me to change my eyebrow thickness and the color of my eyes, which is surprisingly an area they decided to go weird in. I mean, really? What the heck is this? Anywho, these are the options for a guy, and I changed my appearance as soon as I could even though I was broke. These options aren't world changing, but I'm really glad they exist. The opening scene of the game introduces us to Rose, who is some guy with weird facial hair. Additionally, I'm introduced to some pompous dude bro called Leon, who is this world's quote-unquote unbeatable champion. Equally dubious is his brother Hop, who besides being a guy named Hop, is totally in over his head, and his eye twitches every time I obliterate his team. I think he's secretly planning my death. I mean, what else can you expect from a guy who witnesses a meteor and then instantly goes and picks him up with his bare hands? His older brother Leon decides to endorse me and Hop as league challengers, and I know this because everywhere I go, the game reminds me. These guys are supposed to be my rival, and at the risk of being okay boomered, they're nothing like Gary. But I have to admit, Hop has one of the better character developments in the game. I just wish he wasn't so annoying at the beginning. In the first couple seconds of this game, I can tell this is going to be a huge visual leap forward. The characters are beautifully animated, however I can't help but feel how empty those gestures are, since none of the characters can say actual words. They look kinda dumb bouncing around saying absolutely nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Fast forward from this intro and I get to choose my starter, Sobble. Soon after I'm introduced to the wild area, so let's talk about it. I really like how expansive it is, including a cycling number of weather conditions and different Pokemon at every turn. It's the perfect place to witness one of the game's new mechanisms. Gone are the ways of random encounters of old where you used to run into the grass and a battle sequence is triggered every few feet. Instead, Pokemon now appear in the environment and you can choose whether to battle them or tiptoe around them. This is an awesome addition, as I used to stock up on max repels before exploring because of how annoying it was to engage a Pokemon at every other step. Granted, certain Pokemon still chase you, so they're not completely unavoidable, but this is a welcomed compromise and you can totally still use repels. The wild area is one of the few areas in the game that actually give off an MMO vibe, especially after you turn on the internet communication. It spawns a bunch of in real life players going around on their bikes and camping in tents. Speaking of bikes, this area is an absolute joy to explore once you can actually get one. Now I don't mind running around initially because when you're exploring a new place, the best way to make sure you don't miss anything is by going on foot. The bike, however, makes repeat travels to this area a breeze. And you'll for sure want to come back as you progress through the gyms because you'll be able to catch stronger and stronger Pokemon. Later on in the game, you get an upgrade to your bike that allows you to ride on water. No more using surf. And on that note, no more using fly either. You can now take a flying taxi. The HM system is gone, which I'm totally fine with because it used to force you to compromise the move list of your party. Camping is a new mechanic in the game that allows you to rest up and play with your Pokemon and cook curry. While it feels gimmicky, there are some actual benefits to doing this. Besides gaining experience, it also revives your previously fainted Pokemon and it gets your Pokemon to like you. A Pokemon that likes you will do things like score a critical hit on a target to impress you, or survive a hit that would normally faint them just so you wouldn't feel sad. It's really heartwarming to see and it makes it morally hard to send them to the PC after you just caught a new Pokemon. I like that they added Roto Rally, which is a mini game which allows you to hit targets with your bike in the wild area. Now this really takes advantage of all the space available and I wish there were more things in the game that did that. The wild area introduces us to Pokédens that house the game's new raid battle system, wherein you battle a Dynamax version of a Pokemon and catch it at the end. This is a good intro to the mechanic and it's kinda cool to see it unfold. Certain battles in the game allow you to Dynamax your own Pokemon. This essentially makes your Pokemon grow to a gigantic size and they're given a brand new moveset based on the element type of their moves. I find that they don't have a huge impact on battles, but I like the spectacle of it all. Certain Pokemon change visually in Gigantamax form and they look really cool. This is most visible during gym battles where the gym leader will Gigantamax their Pokemon as a last hurrah. One of the small things I like about these engagements is that the battle music changes. So let's talk about gym battles as they are the focal point of every new town you visit. The structure is mostly the same as it always has been. You face some trainers and then you face the gym leader. Each gym has a different set of activities you have to do to reach the gym leader and I really enjoy their approach to this familiar formula. Battling is awesome. When you enter a gym, you get to change to a special uniform with a number of your choosing. It's kinda cool that gym battles are done on a grand stage with an audience. It's a small thing, but I love how the Pokemon flexes with you after you defeat the gym leader. I think the gym experience could be taken a bit further, especially with these updated graphics. Does anyone remember the old Pokemon show where Ash faces off against Brock and the entire stage changes to be entirely rock based? I'd love to see something like that in a future game. Anywho, this is a good time to share that I felt pretty ill prepared for most of the Pokemon battles I had, and I did just fine. I remembered some basic type advantages from all of my time playing the prior games, but there have been literally hundreds of Pokemon released since I last played. So when the trainer is about to send out a Helioptile, I'm like, what the hell is a Helioptile? Am I even saying that correctly? The result is that some battles were a little bit more grindy than they needed to be, but even at its hardest they weren't super hard. Max revives were super clutch. For example, I played the entire game without having a type advantage to Steel, and you face a ton of Steel Pokemon in this game. And instead of 1-hit kills, they were 2 or 3-hit kills. I guess I should have picked the score button. I think the game did a good job of making sure I wasn't overpowered. Most of the areas leading to the gym towns had Pokemon at or around the level of my party. And thanks to the fact that in this game my entire party shares the experience, I was doing way less work making sure everybody catches up. On that note, I think Sword and Shield is a game that finally respects my time as an adult. Here are some miscellaneous things I noticed on my first playthrough. The Pokemon Center is a one-stop shop. You can buy balls and potions here too. There's even a guy that'll let your Pokemon forget a move or remember a previous one. You can access your PC from anywhere, allowing you to change your party without having to go to a Pokemon Center. There are in-game settings that allow you to skip cutscenes, animations, and nickname prompts, which are perfect for second playthroughs. Pokemon are healed in between championship matches. Experience is shared with everyone on your team. You even gain experience from catching Pokemon. You only get one fishing rod that you use for all levels of Pokemon. You can get every type of berry from just one tree. When your game first boots up, it loads straight to the last save spot. Little things like these build up and make the overall game faster and less tedious. Now, while this game made some welcome additions for adults, the story and the constant hand-holding reminds me that this game has to appeal to children and newcomers to the series. Thankfully, there are some instances in which I can choose to slap that hand. I feel like my first 4 gym badges were practically handed to me because they kept reminding me what type of Pokemon the gym leader had before I even got to that town. It's not like it's a secret because we're introduced to all of them at the beginning of the game, but man, some surprise would have been appreciated. To be fair, I'm never really expecting a good story, just secretly hoping for one. I wish it was weaved into the gameplay instead of just being barfed out right before I battled the league champion Leon. Their attempt at this was a researcher named Sonia that always seemed to find me right after a gym battle. She'd go on and on about her research regarding a time where 2 figures saved the world from the dark day, before telling me not to worry about it and then darting off. It really felt like my only purpose for reaching a town was to battle the gym leader. I didn't really feel compelled to enter the other homes either, or even talk to the local NPCs. As far as characters are concerned, I feel like there was potential, but it never really went deep enough. I like Marnie as a character and the ball guy just for the lulz. We do get some background on some of the characters, but that's pretty much it. And Team Yell, which is a bootleg Team Rocket, is kinda trash, and they're not even evil. It feels like it was a missed opportunity because the design of the characters were amazing. Thanks to the Switch, I could finally enjoy playing Pokemon on the big screen, which I hadn't been able to do since Gale of Darkness on the GameCube. Overall, it looks like there was more to the characters, but we don't really get that. I'd say this game's design overall communicates a lot, but it isn't well supported. When you enter a new town, you're welcomed with a beautiful cinematic that highlights areas of the town. This in itself compels me to run around and see all of the sights, but that's all they really are, sights. There's a bunch of buildings, but you can only enter those same ones that pretty much every other town has. The new Pokemon look cool too, and have some interesting type choices. I can't place each of them into their respective generations because I stopped being able to do that a long time ago. The legendary Pokemon that is on the cover is catchable through a side mission after the credits roll. It feels tacked on and you'd totally miss it if it weren't an obvious missing piece of the game. It feels lacking overall. No legendary dogs, legendary birds, or even a puzzle to gain access to a secret Pokemon spawn. I feel like there's an overall lack of exploration in this game. I never felt lost in an expansive sea area or in a complex cave system. Maybe this was done to simplify the game, but I would have liked to see it. Additionally, the quote-unquote endgame activities available after you finish the game are fairly limited. I actually had to look it up after I became League Champion. One of those are max raids. They are a more difficult version of the raids that you're introduced to in the beginning of the game. This can be done with players online, but I hadn't had much luck with people joining me. Given how quickly I finished this, I kinda want to do a second playthrough and build a better team than the one I started with. Knowing what I know now, I can definitely have a team that's ready for anything. Overall, I can say that this formula still works. Gripes and missed opportunities aside, this Pokemon game fills a void that I haven't filled in a very long time. Personally, the number of improvements make it an easy recommend for new or existing fans of the franchise. I got my fix, go get yours. As far as addictions are concerned, this is a worthy relapse.